I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 176, Believing Harder. I used to think of myself as the wife of a porn addict, but I do not think of myself that way anymore, and you don't have to either. In this podcast, I am going to teach you how to manage your mind and your emotions so that you can stop living your life around your husband's pornography addiction. I am going to teach you how to stop being the victim and how to conquer his pornography addiction, even if he never does. I'm Jolene Wynn. I am a certified life coach, and I am a member of the LDS faith and the wife of a former porn addict. And this is a podcast for the Porn Addict's Wife. Hello, my ladies. How are you? I hope you guys are having a great day. Can you believe that it's almost October? This is blowing my mind. It's beautiful here. I'm very happy about the weather. It's shifted and it is even cooler than it was before. I'm living my best life. And every day I just use it as a testimony that God loves me. That's what I choose to believe. That's what I choose to believe about weather that's under 80 degrees. I'm like, God loves me. And if it's 60, then he really loves me because that's my favorite. So I just know it. And I hope you guys are loving it and enjoying it and that you guys are having a great intro into the school year. I am in full throttle of homeschooling my kids. They each have a couple of activities that they're doing, which means we have kind of not a crazy schedule because I can't handle life like that. So it's not a crazy schedule, but they do have activities. They have, musical theater and gymnastics and church activities once a week and piano lessons and soccer. And there's 5 of them. So it's constantly of like, okay, who has this on what night? But it's a lot of fun and I'm enjoying it immensely. And I love having Rob home 2 days a week. I mean, he's home more than that, but he works now. He works Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then he has Thursdays and Fridays off. And I'm loving it. He is homeschooling with us. He takes over science because I can't do that. He's checking math for everybody, which is so helpful for me. And those are just that's not my forte. And it has been so fun. Last week, we have a little homeschool co-op that we're part of. And last week they had a science fair. It was adorable. And everybody just prepared their own thing. And my kids presented on cells that they made out of Legos and microscopes. It was so cute. And I did none of that. My husband helped them and then they did it themselves and it was amazing. Anyway, that's a little bit about what's going on with us. And I'm about to take a girls' trip to Turks and Caicos with my mom and some of my sisters and my sister-in-law. And and my niece, who I can't believe is old enough to go on a girls' trip. She's 19. So it's throwing me off a little bit, but I'm really excited that she gets to come. This is kind of a last girls' trip before my parents are planning to serve a mission for our church. And they don't know where they're going yet, but they're going to be gone for a year. And so this is our last little trip before they go. And I'm excited to just spend the week relaxing with my mom. We're going to do nothing. And I can't wait. We were talking about it beforehand. And my mom said, should we rent a boat one day? Should we, do anything, any kind of activity? And I said, no, I want to go and sit on a beach and read my book and take naps and exercise and sleep in and do nothing but sit on the beach and not have anybody that I'm in charge of except for myself. And that is going to be so fun. And of course, I told my kids that and they were like, you're also just going to talk because that's what you do with your sisters and your mom. And I said, yes. That is what we do. We talk a lot and it's going to be amazing. So that's where I'm going to be. I leave on Friday and I'm there for a week and I can't wait. So that's a little bit about what's going on with me. I hope you guys are having a great day. And I wanted to also let you guys know that if you guys didn't know already, I am doing a webinar today. This is a free webinar on the day that this is coming out, September 25th, which is also my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. And I'm doing a free webinar called How to Talk to Your Husband About His Pornography Problem. I know that this is something that a lot of people really struggle with. I have a lot of clients that struggle with this. I get so many messages on Instagram from people asking for tips. How do I talk to my husband about this? We always end up arguing or I always shut down. And if you are struggling talking to your husband or if you have something that you want to talk to him about and you don't know how exactly to do that, then this is for you. You can go to jolenewynn.com, go to the Coach Week tab. You can sign up and register. Again, it's totally free. And even if you can't come live, which will be at 11 a.m. Eastern, then you can register to watch the replay. So that's going to be happening today. And then I'm going to follow it up tomorrow and Wednesday. So September 26th and 27th, again at 11 a.m. Eastern, with 2 more calls. And this will be kind of a workshop coaching style call so that I can help you apply everything that you learned in the webinar, because webinars are great and I love them. But sometimes I feel like I go to webinars and I'm like, well, that was a lot of information, but now what am I supposed to do with it? And this is what I want to do. I want to help you apply this to your specific situation. Bring me how you're doing this in your marriage with your husband, what happens for you specifically and personally. And I'm going to help you work through that. So again, that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find all the details online. Go to JulienWynn.com, go to the Coach Week tab. You can sign up for free and get access to the replays. And I would love to see you there. Okay, today I want to talk to you guys about believing harder. And I am so excited about this topic. This is kind of an advanced topic. And the reason that I've been bringing this up is I have been thinking so much about the retreat that's going to be in October and about what I'm going to teach there. And as you guys know, you've probably heard me say that kind of the thing that I really want to talk about there is reinventing. How to get from where you are and what you believe about yourself to where you want to be, right? Questioning the beliefs that you have about yourself, beliefs like I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, and all the beliefs that we have about ourselves. I hate my body, I can't lose weight, all of these thoughts and beliefs that we have. And questioning those, and what if you got to reinvent yourself and reinvent the things you think and believe and the feelings you feel about yourself? That is going to be the focus of this retreat. And I've been just really focusing on that the last couple of days and kind of just brainstorming and meditating on how I'm going to teach it. And I have several things that I'm going to teach there, and this concept is one of them. This concept of believing harder. And it's so valuable to me, and it's helped me so much in the last 10 months with everything been going on with my husband and the thoughts that have come up for me and the feelings that have come up for me. And I wanted to share this with you. Okay. So I'm excited, and this is going to be deep, ladies, and I'm so excited for you. Okay. Believing harder. Okay. Belief is just a series of thoughts you choose to keep thinking. That's it. A belief is just a thought you choose to keep thinking over and over. And a lot of that times this happens subconsciously. We pick up beliefs that we have about ourselves, about the world, about our relationships from the world around us, from how we grew up and our religion and books that we read and movies we watch and magazines that we've seen. And we kind of just pick it all up, a lot of it subconsciously, some of it consciously, but a lot of it subconsciously. And it creates kind of this belief system, we even call it, right? And we have this belief system in our lives. And there's the conscious level of belief systems that we have that we might verbally explain to somebody. But then there's often the subconscious belief system that's created that we aren't even totally aware that it's there, right? It's subconscious. These are the kind of beliefs that come out when our husband is addicted to pornography. For example, the most common belief that I have seen, and I have seen every single woman who I have ever worked with, has this belief that they're not enough. Okay. Hence my book, The Not Enough Wife, right? Is this belief that they're not good enough. That if they were good enough, then their husband wouldn't watch porn. That him watching porn is just proof and evidence that they're not enough as a wife, as a woman, as a sexual partner, however they phrase it or internalize it. And it's all based on this core belief that they're not enough. Okay. And that's what happens. We have this belief that we're not enough, and it's subconscious. We aren't even aware that it's there. But when we have a belief, our brain constantly gathers evidence to prove that it's true. That's our brain's job. It wants to prove that we are always right, which is why we always think we're right, ladies. And most of the time we are. I'll be frank. Let's be honest. We are usually right. And in this case, our brain is using that against us. We have a belief that isn't serving us. It's this belief that we're not good enough in some way, and it just keeps finding evidence. It finds evidence in how you don't throw good enough birthday parties, or you work too often on weekends, or in the size of your jeans, or the color of your hair, or that you don't know how to contour your makeup, or that your husband's addicted to porn. Your brain will find evidence to prove this thought true, this thought that you're not good enough. And that is our belief. A belief is simply a thought that we keep thinking. And we are subconsciously keeping this thought and still thinking it. and it's attached to a lot of emotion, which is why it resonates, which is why you can't just write a nice note on your mirror that says, I have value and I'm good enough, because your brain's going to say, yeah, but we're not. It won't resonate, right? So you can tell yourself all day long, but unless you're actually processing the emotion that's underneath it, it's not going to change, okay? So this is the difficulty when you're trying to change what you believe. And this is the most beautiful part about everything that I teach, okay? Is that your beliefs are optional. Ladies, the way you think about yourself is optional. The way you think about your body, the way you think about your kids, the way you think about your husband, your relationship, all of it is optional. Who you think you are is not set in stone, and it is not predetermined, and it is not in your DNA. It is by choice. And the problem that we usually have is that we aren't consciously choosing these beliefs. We are subconsciously choosing them, because we would never look at ourselves consciously and say, I would like to choose to think that I'm not enough. I would like to choose to think that I'm ugly and fat and that I need to lose weight and that I'm a terrible mom. We would never actually just sit there and think that consciously. In fact, most of the time, we fight these subconscious beliefs with conscious thought. We try to talk our way out of how we feel, right? We try to talk our way out of it and convince ourselves that we don't actually believe that about ourselves, that we don't feel that way about ourselves, because logically, we can see that that's ridiculous. Logically, we can see how that's not actually true, and yet it doesn't feel that way, right? It is a choice. And what's happening is when you're not managing your mind and you don't know how to process your emotions, it's a subconscious choice that you don't know how to shift. Okay, these beliefs that we have are just a collection of thoughts that we have subconsciously gathered over time, and it's what shapes how we experience everything around us. It shapes how you experience your interactions with your kids, with your spouse, how you show up at work, okay? The activities that you choose to participate in and how you choose to participate in them, right? If you believe you're a people pleaser, then you're going to show up as one, right? You're going to give in, you're going to acquiesce, you're going to go silent, and you're going to create a pattern in your relationships where your opinion is not heard, thus creating more internal frustration and feeling like you're not being heard and proving to yourself that you are a people pleaser, right? You guys with me? But what I want to talk about is, what if you no longer believed you're a people pleaser? Again, this is what I'm doing at the retreat. We're going to talk about where we are and where we're going. What if you shifted it? What if you reinvented yourself into someone who is no longer a people pleaser? What could change? Now, you don't have to go to the opposite of being the antagonist who just picks fights for no reason, just because that sounds fun. But what if you decided you were just going to you weren't going to always try and just make other people feel happier? What if you actually decided to figure out what it is you liked and go from there? What if you decided how you felt about things and decided to stand up for yourself? What if you chose to feel more confident and to assert your own opinion and think that it has as much value as anybody else's? What if you started thinking more about how you feel about something rather than just trying to make other people feel better about it? Right? What would shift? How would your relationships look different? I have a friend who was thinking about this, and she has shifted this a lot in her life. She said around her family, she tends to always give in. She wants to be the peacemaker. Okay. She was like, I'm always the peacemaker. I was always the one to give in. And so what that looked like was totally fine when she was single or early on when it was just her and her opinion. But then she got married and she started having kids. And all of a sudden, there were more opinions, and she actually had a different opinion. And she didn't want to just go with what everyone else was thinking, because it was no longer what was best for her and her family. Now, when she started to shift that, it did create a little bit of a difference in the interactions that she had with her family members. They were used to her being the one that would always give in, the one that didn't have an opinion, or the one that had the opinion but was willing to let go and say, oh, that's okay, let's not do it my way. And so it did create a little bit, not rockiness, nobody was mean about it, but it did create a difference in the relationship. And she had to learn how to confidently assert herself and say, no, this is actually what I want to do with my little family. This is what's best for us. And it required a little bit of a shift, but she had to confidently say that. Otherwise, she was just going to go back to where she was before. And she decided to shift that. She decided to believe that she was no longer the one that came that way in the extended family, that she no longer had to be the one that gave in. And if she thought of herself differently, then that's what made it happen. Does this make sense? You guys with me? Let's do another example. If you think of yourself as someone who can't lose weight, if you have that belief, oh, I just can't lose weight, then what's going to happen? You're going to prove it to yourself. Your brain will see it. Your brain will see it in all the ways that it's impossible, in all the things that you've tried that haven't worked. And then it's going to want to feel like it's impossible and you shouldn't even try. It's going to want to give up before you've even started. Or you'll start trying and your brain will want results to happen faster. And so if it doesn't see any results, then it's like, oh, see, it's been 2 weeks. I've eaten healthy for 2 weeks. I've exercised. Nothing has happened. See, I just can't lose weight. I might as well quit. And if you do that, then you will continually be the person who stops and doesn't lose weight. You guys with me? What if you decided to change what you believed about yourself? What if you decided to believe that it was possible? This is so powerful, you guys. Really consider this. What if it's possible for you to lose weight? What if it's possible for you to have your dream body? This is something that I have been thinking about recently, and it's been so fascinating because I have recognized in myself that I have this belief that I can't get any more in shape than I am right now, which I'm very happy with my body, but it's been very sneaky and fascinating for me to recognize, oh my goodness, I have this belief that I am never going to be any leaner than I am right now, that I'm never going to lose any more body fat. Again, totally fine, but I'm recognizing that that's this belief that I have. And when I have that belief, guess what I do? I self-sabotage. I'm like, well, I ate really well, but it doesn't matter because my body just can't lose any more weight than it does right now. I'm never going to get any leaner. It doesn't matter how much I work out. It doesn't matter how healthy I eat. So I might as well just have the nachos or whatever. I don't actually like nachos. I don't know why I gave that example, but I do like chips, right? So it's like, oh, I might as well because nothing is going to work. Or what I do is like, I stop tracking my food. I'll track it for a little while. And then I'm like, this doesn't work anyway. It doesn't matter how much I track my food. I'll give all kinds of evidence. It's like, remember how last year you tracked everything you put in your mouth for 6 months? And nothing changed, right? My brain has all of this evidence to prove to myself this belief that I already have. But I've been sitting here thinking about it recently and just thinking, okay, what if I decided to change that? What if I no longer believed that I couldn't get any leaner? What if I actually believed it was possible to have my dream body fat percentage or my dream physique or however you want to phrase it? What if it was actually possible for me to have that? What if I believed that? What if I believed that that was possible for me? What would that shift? And I've been thinking about it and I said, if I actually believed that was possible, I actually would put in a lot more effort to make it so. Okay. If I believed it was possible, then I would have hope and I would have motivation and I would have inspiration in order to make it happen. And I would be able to show up in a different way because I have a different belief. If I believe that it's possible, that the work that I'm putting in is actually going to produce the result that I want, then I'm going to show up and put in the work differently because I believe that it's going to create the result that I want. When you believe something, that is when you do things differently. Again, belief is a thought that creates a feeling, and our feelings drive all of our actions, and our actions are what create our results. So if you have a result in your life that you do not like, then it's coming from a thought or a belief that you are thinking that's producing a feeling that then is creating an action that then is producing a result in your life. Okay? And all of it comes down to believing harder. Here's the tricky thing about belief, okay? Believing harder is so difficult because it's easier to believe when you have a lot of evidence. I can really find tons of evidence that I'm not good enough. My brain has been believing it for a really long time. I have tons of evidence. That is an easy thing to believe. It's harder when your brain has no evidence, and that's when you have to believe harder. When your brain has accumulated proof that you're right, and it has years of evidence to prove that your husband's a liar and that you shouldn't trust him and that you're not good enough, then that's the easy belief to have. But believing when you have no business believing it, when there is no evidence, when in fact all of the evidence stacks against your belief, that's when you have to dig down and believe harder. It's easy to believe your husband won't relapse or slip up if he never have. if he never has? There's lots of proof that he won't, right? It's harder to believe that he won't relapse or that he won't slip up or that you can make it through it if your brain has no proof. If your brain has years of evidence actually stacked against you, years of evidence that he is going to slip up and he is going to lie and he's never going to get over this, it's much harder to believe in the possibility that he actually will get through it and you guys won't have another relapse. And that he is trustworthy, that you can trust him. This is something that has been happening so much over the last 10 months for me and my husband. The belief that I have, the belief that I've had, the thing that I have so much evidence for is that my husband is going to hurt me again. And that's what I believe. I believe right now that my husband is going to hurt me again. And I have so much evidence to prove it. I have years of lying, years of pornography addiction, years of lying about attraction and all of the things that we've talked about on this podcast. I have years of evidence that my husband is going to hurt me again. And that's what my brain believes. And right now, my challenge and what I'm working on right now is believing harder that he won't. Why? Because I want to believe that about my husband, because I want to choose to believe that about him. I don't want to spend the rest of my marriage believing that my husband is going to hurt me. I want to believe that he won't. That's what I choose. That's what I want to believe. And that's what feels hard. And my brain says, no, here's all of the reasons why we shouldn't. Here's why that's stupid. Here's all of the years of evidence to prove that he is going to hurt us again, that it's just going to be a repeated pattern. And I have to believe harder. I don't have to, but I'm choosing to believe something and dig down and believe harder when I have no business believing it. When I have no evidence on my side, but it doesn't require evidence. Here's the beautiful thing about belief, ladies. It requires no evidence. All it requires is decision. That's it. You can choose to believe whatever it is you want, and your brain can provide all the evidence to the contrary, and it does not matter. This is why, if you want evidence of this, this is why I have so many women, so many clients who come to me and they say, my husband hasn't relapsed in 15 years, 7 years, 27 years. It doesn't matter how long it is. I still don't trust him. Not because they have lots of evidence over the last 7, 15, or 27 years. They actually have zero evidence that he's relapsed, and yet they still don't believe him when he says that he hasn't relapsed. Why? Because you don't need any evidence in order to believe something. And yet we always go with what's easiest. So here's what gets in the way. What gets in the way of actually believing the things that we want to believe? Here's what it is. Number one, self-judgment. Okay? This comes up so much. When you have the belief that you normally have, and then you have the one that you want to believe. I want to believe my husband's telling me the truth. Okay, well, what's getting in the way? Number one, self-judgment. That's stupid. I shouldn't believe him. Only an idiot would believe him. That's really naive. All of those thoughts that we have about ourselves, what we make it mean about ourselves, if we do change that belief, all that self-judgment is what gets in the way of believing that new thing. Okay? And that's when we have to believe harder. When we recognize those thoughts, we become aware of those self-judgments, we learn how to retrain our brain to no longer think those so that we can believe harder in the thing that we have no evidence for. Okay. Number two is fear. This is one of the biggest ones. What if you believe that it was possible to work through all of this emotional baggage from your husband's pornography problem and actually have the marriage that you want? Well, one of it is it's just scary. It's hard to believe that. It's scary to believe that. I was talking to my husband about this last night, and I told him, I said, you know what? Part of me believes that you are still going to hurt me. I don't trust that you're not going to hurt me again. And the only thing keeping it there right now is fear. It's just my brain being afraid that it might happen again. That's it. It's the fear. That's what's keeping it there. This fear, this emotional response. My brain is afraid of letting go of that thought, letting go of that thought so that I can believe that he won't hurt me again, because what if I'm wrong, right? That's really the fear, is what if I'm wrong? And that's when I just remind my brain, okay, if I am wrong, then maybe he will hurt me again. And the worst thing that can happen is I'll just feel a feeling. I'll just feel hurt. And I'm actually really good at feeling hurt. By now, ladies, I am like a pro at feeling hurt. I'm so good, in fact, that I teach other people how to do it, right? I'm so good at feeling hurt that I teach other women how to feel their hurt, right? That fear is what often prevents us from believing harder. because we're scared of what might happen if we do. What if I actually believed that I could lose the weight? What if I actually believed it? What if I changed how I believed about myself and I changed that I was no longer a people pleaser? That would be scary. My relationships would change. How I interacted with people would change. What if I didn't believe anymore that I was shy? Would that mean that I then became an extrovert? All of these fears, all of these things that we think might happen are scary. And that's what's keeping us where we are and preventing us from believing what we want to believe. That's what's preventing us from believing harder. Number 3 is our comfort zone. Our brain loves to keep us exactly where we are, even if where we are is hurting. Because our brain thinks that anything out of the comfort zone, anything out of where we are is too scary, right? It kind of goes back to that fear. But our brain doesn't want to believe harder. Why? Because believing harder requires grit. It requires determination. That's kind of that oomph factor. It requires effort, and our brain is lazy. Our brain would rather just stay right where we are. Even if where we are is believing we're not good enough, believing that we're ugly, believing that we're overweight, believing that we're never going to lose weight, believing that our husband watches pornography because he doesn't find us attractive. Whatever it is that we believe about ourselves, our brain wants us to stay there because it's easier. Because changing the things that you believe about yourself is hard. That's why it's called believing harder, right, ladies? It's hard to do that kind of work, and our brain wants to resist that. Our brain wants to stay in the comfort zone. And that's going to be the thing that keeps you believing even things you don't want to believe about yourself. That's when it's time to dig down and believe harder. And then the other thing that keeps us from believing new things, that prevents us, that gets in the way of believing harder, is our own limiting beliefs. It kind of goes into that self-judgment, but it's what we believe about ourselves and what's possible for ourselves. And when we limit ourselves, it keeps us stuck, right? When we say things like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to change what I believe about myself. I don't even want, like, it's scary to expand into something that could be better. What if that's not possible for me, right? That limiting belief. Oh, maybe Jolene could do it. Maybe her clients could do it, but I'm just a listener. I just found her. I've been dealing with this for too long, or my circumstance is different. All of those are limiting beliefs. She doesn't know I have, a condition or a health problem that means that I've the way that I am. My body can't lose weight physically, scientifically, medically, right? We have all of these limiting beliefs, these beliefs that keep us where we are. It's kind of like an umbrella or like a lid. We have the opportunity. There's so much expansion and growth that is possible within us. And the beliefs that we have that keep us in our comfort zone, that keep us where we are limiting that. And as long as we choose to believe those, and most of the time, we're not even aware of what they are. We're not even aware that they're there. But once we become aware of them, those are the things that are keeping us exactly where we are and preventing us from growing and expanding and having the life that we want. And ladies, I really want to encourage you to take a look at what it is you want to believe. Go to work on finding evidence for what you want to believe. It seems hard. Your brain says, how can I believe it and make it through this? We've never done it before. Believe harder and then go to work to find evidence. And it is work. Your brain's going to fight it with all of those things. It's going to throw a fit. It's going to say, I have no evidence. And that's when you have to be in charge of your brain. And you tell your brain, you know what? I might not have any evidence yet, but I will. Or I don't have any evidence, but I don't need any. And you begin to release your grip on your disbelief. And in loosening your grip on that, you open up space to find evidence. When you loosen up your grip on those limiting beliefs, on that self-judgment, on that fear, on that comfort zone, when you loosen your grip on that, that's when your brain opens up to start finding evidence for what you want to believe. Evidence that you're beautiful. Evidence that your husband loves you, evidence that there's hope, evidence that you're not alone. And you have to work to see it at first, right? You are literally retraining your brain, changing the neural pathways in your brain that you have blocked for years, for your entire life. It's going to take some work, but it's absolutely possible if you want to believe it. So what do you want to believe? Do you want to believe that it's possible to overcome your husband's pornography problem? Do you want to believe that it's possible that you don't have to feel this way the rest of your life? Do you want to believe that it's possible that you don't have to be a people pleaser? Do you want to change what you believe about yourself? Do you want to believe that you can do this? that you can lose the weight, that you don't have to live with triggers, that your husband is trustworthy, that you guys can actually feel connected even if he's still struggling with pornography? What is it that you want to believe? Because you don't need any evidence in order to believe it. You don't need any proof. All you have to do is decide. And when you decide to believe something, that's when you dig down and you believe harder. When you decide to believe something that you have no business believing, when you decide to believe something that you have no evidence for, and in fact, all the evidence is stacked in the opposite direction, that's when you dig down and you believe harder. Just because you decide to believe it. Have your own back, take the courageous stance, and that's how you shift into new things. That's how you start to grow. That's how you start to expand. This is how you change, ladies. You change what you believe about yourself. You change what you believe about life and what's possible for you, and that's when you start seeing it differently, because when you believe differently, you feel differently. And when you feel differently, you take different action. And when you take different action, that's when your life starts to change. So if you want something to change in your life, then start with your belief, and that's where it's all going to shift. I love you, ladies. I hope you guys have a great week. Believe something beautiful about yourself and believe it harder. I'll see you guys next week. Take care. All right, ladies, it's time to rise up and take charge of your healing, and I have the best way for you to do it. I have created a lifetime access coaching program that I have designed specifically for you and exactly what you're going through right now. This is where I help you develop a personal mastery of all the tools that you're learning here on the podcast in order for you to create a permanent change. Go to my website, joleneWynn.com. You will find all the information there, and you can sign up today, and we will start going forward. I can't wait to see you there.